If there was a registered sex offender living in your neighborhood, is that something that would be of concern to you? If so, be sure to stay tuned to the very end of this video, because I'm going to show you exactly where to go and how to check for such items. All this and a whole lot more in today's video on Deerfield Beach pros and cons. Let's go. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you didn't know, my name is Joseph McFarlane. I am the broker owner of Reform Realty, South Florida Homes and Luxury Estates. And as much as I love to make these videos, I would love it even more to be able to help you with any and all of your real estate needs. So the information that you see popping up below is my direct contact information. I'm the actual person who answers your calls, responds to your texts and to your emails. Never hesitate to reach out and ask if you have any questions specific to real estate or anything that I do in terms of the content on this channel. I love hearing from you. I'm literally getting dozens of phone calls from people all over the world who are interested in moving to South Florida or who already live here and want to make a move. So don't ever feel bashful or shy. Reach out. I'm very friendly to talk to. Also, on this channel, you're going to find that we do things very differently. We don't hold any punches. We don't sugarcoat anything. We tell everything as it is. I believe that information is a priceless commodity, and to deliver it to you in a truthful manner is extremely important. And so if that's important to you, please take the opportunity right now to click the subscribe button below. Don't forget to ring the bell right next to it so you can be first to be notified whenever we drop brand new content of what it's like to live in sunny South Florida. Also, remember to share this video with a friend or family member if you find it to be educating, entertaining, and engaging. And so in today's episode, we're talking about the pros and cons of living in Deerfield Beach, Florida. And I'd like to start off by simply saying Deerfield Beach is a very good place. It's a cool place. I would live there. I would recommend that my parents move there. I would also recommend that any of my family members, including my own children, live in Deerfield Beach. However, all that glitters is not always gold. And with that said, there are some areas in Deerfield Beach that are more or less desirable than others. And we're gonna cover some of that in today's episode. I would also like to specify that I live in Coconut Creek, which is the neighbor of Deerfield Beach. We are literally right next door to each other. And so in summary, Deerfield Beach is cool, it's fun, and it is a good place to be. The positives of living in a place like Deerfield Beach can be summarized in the three following categories: proximity, things to do, and housing. Proximity. Deerfield Beach is literally close to everything. Whether you're rollerblading to the beachfront or you're catching a plane at one of the local international airports an hour and a half over the ocean into the Bahamas, you can literally get anywhere from Deerfield Beach, Florida, because it's conveniently located right smack in the middle of two major cities in South Florida: Fort Lauderdale and West Palm Beach. And because of the wonderful location, there's tons of things to do. Whether it's excellent dining, entertainment and nightlife, parks and recreation, boating, fishing, water sports, underwater beach cameras, and the list goes on. Most locals in South Florida hang out at Deerfield Beach as their choice weekend destination for beachfront activities. Another interesting thing about Deerfield Beach is that you're going to find that the housing is much more affordable than the neighboring competitors. For example, the average home price in Deerfield Beach is approximately $660,000 for a single family home. Now, if you compare that to a single family home that's similar in the neighboring town of Boca Raton, their average sale price is approximately $1.2 million. And that's a major price gap. And so all things considered, home pricing, as well as the overall cost of living in Deerfield Beach as it compares to neighboring affluent suburbs, it's much less expensive, and that's a major pro that you should know about. For more information about those excellent reasons of living in and moving to Deerfield Beach, I encourage you to stay tuned to the very end of this video where you can click the link and I get into much further emphasis on all of those items and everything that you're gonna wanna see and know about. All right, and now the moment that everyone is always been waiting for. You know, it's kind of funny because on these YouTube channels, oftentimes people come on here and they only talk about the good stuff, the ultra positive, awesome stuff, and nobody ever gets into the nitty gritty and nobody ever wants to shred their hometown. Like I said, we do things different on this channel. We tell you the truth. We don't pull any punches. We do not hold anything back. We believe it's extremely important that you are in the know. We are going to do the same when we talk about today's cons list for Deerfield Beach, Florida. And some of these are worse than others, but within this list, there are some items that you're definitely going to want to know about. they will definitely hold weight in your consideration or even reconsideration of ever living in or wanting to stay in Deerfield Beach, Florida. And while I did stress earlier that Deerfield Beach is a good place that I would live in, that I currently live next to, it's important that you know the following. The first con that I want to tell you about is that Deerfield Beach, Florida has terrible schools. That's right, I said it, and you don't have to get mad at me. You can just go ahead and go directly to the school district and complain to them. Because if you go on any internet search website, check out greatschools.org, for example, you are going to see that Deerfield Beach school system, from the elementary school all the way up to the high school, is lackluster, to say the least. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best, they score anywhere between 2 and about 4 points. And so as a result, we can conclude that the Deerfield Beach public school system is not good. Most people who I talk to that are either moving to Deerfield Beach or currently live there will either fall into one of the 3 categories. 1, they're either homeschooling their children, or 2, they're sending their children to a private school, or 3, they're retired and their children are now adults and the idea for schooling has become completely irrelevant to them. And so, if great public schools are important to you, then I think it's very important that you know that Deerfield Beach ranks among some of the least desirable public school systems in all of South Florida. And now our second con is going to be Deerfield Beach tourism, parking, and traffic. Because let's face it, they're all related to each other. They all hinge together anyway. Now, tourism is a little bit subjective. Some people, when they go to the beach or when they hang out in their local hometown favorite areas, they prefer the local feel and they don't want to be bothered with noisy, arrogant, loud tourists. Personally, I don't think that's the case for Deerfield Beach. And personally, I like visiting Deerfield Beach and feeling like I'm on vacation because there are a lot of tourists there. But some people will think that the tourism feel is just not for them. They prefer the hometown vibe. So that's a little bit subjective. Really depends on how you respond to a very transient environment. I think it's pretty cool and fun. I mean, you really get the same feeling when you visit Fort Lauderdale or Miami Beach or any of the other major beachfront locations. But one thing for certain that everybody agrees about is whenever tourist season comes into play, that the parking can be a major ball buster and the traffic takes no prisoners either. Weekend beach traffic during some phenomenal weather is horrendous. And for a local like myself who lives 8 miles west of the beach, I know better than to travel during peak hours down Hillsborough Boulevard over the bridge into Deerfield Beach, because it's literally gonna take you 3 times longer to get to the oceanfront if you would have just simply gotten there earlier or waited a little bit longer to get in when it wasn't prime time. And then when you finally get in there, good luck finding a parking space. Now, there are some local secrets about parking, which I can't share with you on this channel because I wouldn't be a secret anymore. But what I can tell you is that those local secrets for parking are quickly disappearing as the years go on. And so for me, it's gotten to the point where I just go to the local restaurant, valet the car, pay the 20 bucks or whatever it is, enjoy a meal at the local restaurant, and then leave the local restaurant and then visit the beach. The restaurant appreciates the patronage. I get beachfront front row parking. All in all, it's really not that expensive. And at the end of the day, I don't have to wait much longer or drive around in circles like a maniac looking for the next parking spot. And so between the tourism, horrendous parking, and crowded traffic during peak hours at the beach on a weekend, that's definitely another con that you should know about Deerfield Beach, Florida. The third con that I want to elaborate is something that everyone knows about, but not everybody knows everything about, and that is the weather. The weather pretty much falls into 3 different categories: heat and humidity, rain, and storms. South Florida is famous for our phenomenal weather. Throughout the entire year, people always visit because they want to have fun in the sun. In the wintertime, usually our weather is about 75 degrees, it rarely rains, and there's not a cloud in the sky. Sometimes in the evening, it gets as low as 55 degrees whenever a cold front comes in. And for a Floridian, that's considered cold. And I know if you're a northerner, you're probably laughing at that, but we think that's cold. In the summertime, however, it can be brutally hot. We're talking 90 degrees, intense humidity from the moment that you walk out the door of your house to your car and you get in and you turn the car on, you get the AC going. Too late, you're already sweating, and ladies, your hair already went poof. It's just a nature of the beast living in the tropical climate of South Florida. And so the summertime heat and humidity can be pretty rough. Which brings me to storm season. Now I want to specify, storm season should not be confused with hurricane season. The media says that hurricane season starts in June and lasts July, August, September, October, November. But the fact is, hurricane preparedness season really starts in June, July, August. If you look at the history of South Florida hurricanes, you will notice that every hurricane that hit landfall in history, Category 1 or higher, has been in the later months, September, October, November. And so a major negative about living in Deerfield Beach, Florida, is that when these storms come through, if it's a Category 1 or a Category 2, usually the media freaks everybody out and people rush to the grocery store to stock up on last-minute emergency hurricane supplies. And because of this, it is a major inconvenience whenever one of these storms approaches South Florida. Now, you can speak to any local who has been here for at least 10 or 20 years, and they will probably agree and say a Category 1 or a Category 2 is just not that big a deal. I am not downgrading or downplaying the level of safety that one should take in the event that a storm is headed our direction. You should always take the appropriate measures to protect you and your family whenever the storm arrives. For example, if the storm is headed towards us and it's a Category 2, well, then it's very possible that that storm could build up enough speed and strength to become a Category 4 by the time it hits landfall. And every local who has lived here for at least 10 or 20 years will agree that a Category 3 or higher is serious business. Okay, the next con that I want to share with you is the seaweed at the beach. Now, this is something that has happened in more recent years in all of South Florida. Now, I'm also not a marine biologist, but here are some things that I've noticed. Recently, my parents came down from New York to visit South Florida. They paid a pretty penny to stay in a very nice hotel on the beach, and they were very disappointed to find that when they arrived to the beach, that it was covered in this really stinky seaweed. Now, you would think that the city officials would be spending a lot of money in the upkeep, maintenance, and preservation of the beach, which they do, but no matter how many trucks they send out there in the early mornings to rake up all of the seaweed that's being washed up on a shore, they cannot outwork the way that nature continues to bring itself back up onto the sand. This seaweed is known as sargassum. Sounds like the word sarcasm, but sargassum. Unfortunately, some of these beach conditions really have kept a lot of locals away from going to the beach, and they've also kept some tourism away from checking into some beach hotels because it looks ugly and it doesn't smell good either. I, for one, do not want to have to swim in the water that looks like that. These seaweed invasions don't happen all the time. I'm going to show you the Deerfield Beach live beach cam, and you can see for yourself right now in real time exactly what the ocean front looks like. You can see it is completely pristine. Everything looks beautiful, and that's a good thing. However, do not be surprised if you have a trip planned to Deerfield Beach and when you arrive that the sand does not look the same way as it does in the video I just showed you. This type of seaweed does come at random, and I do think it's more seasonal than anything. Something to certainly watch out for. All right, enough about seaweed and parking and hurricanes. Let's get into the nittiest of the grittiest. Let's talk about the high crime rate in Deerfield Beach, Florida. Sadly, the crime rate is most likely an appendage of what we might see coming out of the public school system in Deerfield Beach, Florida. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go into the computer system, and I want to show you exactly where you could go to search crime rates all over the country, and you could get very detailed and specific into any given area. To be completely fair, I'm going to compare Deerfield Beach to an extremely desirable, safe location like Boca Raton or Parkland, Florida. And I'm also going to compare Deerfield Beach to a very undesirable location. The type of place like where if you asked your friend who was a police officer where you should not go, and he'll tell you, don't go there, that type of place. And so we'll have a balanced spectrum of crime in an extremely desirable affluent area, the complete opposite of the extremely desirable affluent area, and Deerfield Beach right in the middle, and then you can be the judge. I want to give a special shout out to the law enforcement enforcement officers that actually helped me make this video. I spoke to local law enforcement and I asked them a couple of questions about some areas, and they were also able to tell me some data and criteria for consideration as to how I arrived to some of the conclusions that I'm about to showcase to you right now. So big shout out to local law enforcement. Thank you so much. We love you and we appreciate the hard work that you do. Also, if you haven't already, take the opportunity right now to click the subscribe button below. Don't forget to ring the bell. You will be first to be notified whenever I make brand new videos just like this one. Type in crimemapping.com. This is a free account. Don't even have to sign up. I was never prompted to sign up. And we're gonna start with Deerfield Beach. Just go ahead and type in Deerfield Beach. There it is, comes right up. From the left-hand side here, we're gonna go with when, custom time range. Click on custom time range. From today's date, that's right now. And we're gonna go back to January 1st. The longest it'll allow you to go back is year to date, January 1st. So here we go. January 1st to today's date. Now we're going to apply our search setting. When we apply the search setting, go ahead and close this out, click. There are 258 records. That's 258 police records of crime that has been in Deerfield Beach. This original search does not include, right here, sex offender data. Now for me to display the sex offender data, I'm just gonna go ahead and click display. The number just jumped from 258 to 272. That's 14 sex offenders that are registered that are living in this map view of Deerfield Beach. This is not all of Deerfield Beach. This is only what the map is showing. So for example, right now it's 272 in total, which includes registered sex offenders. And if I click this minus button right here, it's gonna zoom out. And when the map zooms out, the number will go higher. See that? We now have 642 criminal records, including sex offenders. So which of these are sex offenders? Well, come over here on the left-hand side and click on what. I give you a list of all the different types of crime. If you go all the way down here, we have sexual predator and we have sex offender. So anything with the letter S, or sex crime right here, anything with the letter S, X out, and you can click into this blue S right here. When you click into the blue S, I click accept. It's going to publish the personal information of the registered sex offender right on your computer screen. So you're gonna know their first name, their last name, their address, and what they look like. I chose not to broadcast that information on this YouTube channel for obvious reasons. You can go ahead and look for yourself if you'd like. And so the further that you zoom out on this map using the negative button, the higher the crime record rate will go. And also the more sex offenders you will find. And so now you might be thinking, Joe, Deerfield Beach looks really bad. How does a place like Parkland compare to Deerfield? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Open up another tab. We're gonna type in Parkland, Florida. We're going to use the exact same criteria, which is click on when, custom range, go back to January 1st, apply, and immediately you're gonna notice that the records are much lower. Look, 17 records, okay. There has to be more than 17 records. So let's go ahead and zoom out, 114 records. Of these 114 records, how many are sex offenders? Notice our number jumped from 114 to 115. There's only one registered sex offender living in Parkland, and that's gonna be this S right down here. Interesting. So for a place like Parkland, which is extremely affluent and highly desirable, you can see that the crime rate is substantially lower than a place like Deerfield Beach, which is very close by. Let's take a look at an area that was told to me by local law enforcement to be less than desirable based on crime rates. Let's type in West Park, Florida, which is also in Broward County. And let's use the same specified search function of when. We're gonna go back to January again first, apply, close it out, and zoom out one click. As you can see, there's a tremendous amount of crime in this area, 694 records. And that doesn't even include the sex offenders yet. Let's click display, 694. It goes up to 742, which means there's 48 sex offenders living in West Park. I want you to know that although Deerfield Beach does have a much higher crime rate than a place like Parkland or Boca, it also has a much lower crime rate than a place like West Park, Florida, which is a known hotspot for high crime. Now, there's something else that we have not yet taken into consideration, which is very, very important. You're gonna notice that the high crime in a place like West Park, Florida is going to be a lot more dangerous type of crime than in some of the other places. For example, we have robberies, that's with the mask, and we also have armed robbery. That's like this guy right here, carjacking, armed robbery, burglary, things like that. Now, when you look at a place like Deerfield, for example, you can see that they have masks too, burglaries. There's something right here, look. Robbery. And then you compare it to a place like Parkland, and you can see the type of crime that happens is much tamer than these other places we just looked at. We're talking about domestic disputes, maybe DUI, driving under the influence, maybe some type of petty theft or fraud. And as you can see, the crime rate is not only much lower, but it's also a different type of crime. And I think that's very important for you to know. One last thing I want to show you. When you go into these crime maps, down here in the left-hand corner, go ahead and click the chart button. It's going to populate a pie graph for us. I'm going to do the same for each of these 3 cities. It's going to prompt you to accept that. That's fine. And I'll do the third one right now. Accept. And you're going to notice that now we have a pie chart of the different crimes in the city. So currently we are looking at Deerfield Beach. And in Deerfield Beach, over the last 6 months or so, year to date, we can see in our pie chart the types of crime. I think the more heavily weighted crime is going to be in the area of burglary, maybe homicide, certainly homicide, motor vehicle theft, robbery. Let's take a look at the crime rate over here in Parkland. This says assault. So what's that? Like domestic violence, vehicle break-in theft. You know, it's very common for people who are not from an area to go into a very affluent area and try to break into those vehicles. That's like, what criminals consider to be soft targets. So don't be surprised to see a lot of break-in theft in very fancy, wealthy areas. So remember to lock your belongings and park your cars inside your garage. But look at how much lower burglary is in Parkland as opposed to Deerfield, much higher. What about West Park? West Park has their own set of problems, but the pie graph is not always the best representative. Look at these numbers right here. You see the bar graph? And on the bar graph, 100, 120, so it's upwards of 120. Let's flip back over to Parkland, just above 20. Which is substantially lower. Then when we go back to Deerfield, we are just above 100, which is substantially higher than a place like Parkland. And so, all things considered, we can now see that Deerfield Beach does have a substantially higher crime rate than other affluent, desirable places like Parkland or Boca Raton. However, it's not as bad, though comparable to a place like West Park, which is very undesirable, and a lot of the crime that happens in West Park can be in many cases very dangerous, very violent. Deerfield Beach is still a very good place to live. Just be aware that the crime rates in certain areas, specific areas, is much higher than others, and we can go back to the map to see some of the areas that have the most highly concentrated crime. Well, all right, there you have it. Those are the pros and cons of living in Deerfield Beach, Florida. Were there some things on that list that surprised you that you didn't know before? Can you see how our channel is different from many other channels? If you agree, don't forget to subscribe below, ring the bell, you'll be first to be notified. Click one of the videos here on the left and right so you can see more about the 5 awesome reasons of why you should move to Deerfield Beach. And like always, many blessings.